Dental floss might have potentially toxic impacts we never knew about. This is today's article by Mike McRae on Science Alert having to do with health alerts. Your brand of dental floss might be leaving you with more than squeaky clean teeth and fresh breath. It could also be depositing traces of potentially dangerous classes of chemicals known as per- and polyfluoroalkyl substances, PFAS for short. A recent study looked for forms of PFAS in the blood of volunteers after quizzing them on their lifestyle habits. The results highlight the challenges involved in avoiding these concerning toxins. In collaboration with the Public Health Institute in California, researchers from the Silent Spring Institute set out to identify common daily habits that risk raising exposure to these potentially dangerous chemicals. A little under a year ago, the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency held a summit to address allegations of high levels of PFAS in the drinking water of 33 states. Unfortunately, media was banned from the event, so it's not clear what the government's current assessment of the risks are, but drinking water is just one place where we can find these potentially nasty substances. They've been in production since the mid-20th century, used for their slick, water-repellent properties on everything from furniture, fabrics, to food packaging. To say these chemicals are virtually everywhere is an understatement, and to make matters worse, PFASs don't break down very easily and can accumulate in the tissues of animals. Humans as well, that is. But is it all as bad as it sounds? Once word got out that these and related classes of organic fluorides were detectable in significant amounts in the environment and our own bodies, there was a surge of interest in their health effects. Research has intensified in recent decades, with field and laboratory models suggesting elevated levels of such chemicals risk depressing the immune system, damaging the liver, crossing the placenta to affect fetal development, and maybe giving certain cancers a boost. While there's no clear indication of a safe level, the fact the material clings to proteins and builds up in tissues such as the liver and the kidneys makes it a very serious concern. Local bans are debated by policymakers, so we can expect this class of chemicals to remain in use for some time yet. In the meantime, researchers have busied themselves with tracking down the various pathways PFASs take to get into our bodies. In this case, 178 women, half of which identified as African American, were recruited to provide blood samples, which were analyzed for signs of 11 different types of PFAS. The participants also provided details of their lifestyle through structured interviews. Levels of two PFAS compounds, perfluorooctanoic acid and perfluorohexasulfonic acid, were found to be lower in African American participants than the rest of the sample, indicating differences in concentration between racial demographics. Frequent consumption of foods from PFAS-coated cardboard containers also seemed to raise the level of 4 PFAS compounds in African American women, but not in the other groups. Living in a city with PFAS in the water supply, unsurprisingly, also correlated with high levels of some types of the potential toxin. But the most surprising source of contamination was dental floss. Analysis of the threads in 18 different brands showed levels of fluorine indicate PFAS being used as coatings. Specifically, several types of Oral-B Glide were implicated, and 2 similar generic brand competitors. And unfortunately, from what I understand, most of us use Oral-B, thinking that's the best on the market. Quote, "This is the first study to show that using dental floss containing PFAS is associated with a higher body burden of these toxic chemicals," says lead author Katie Barono from Silent Spring. None of this should be taken as hard evidence that PFAS and dental floss will lead to health problems, at least not on their own. The study stopped short of collecting information on medical history or disease risks, providing little more than comparative concentrations of various organic fluorides. But with these chemicals found in so many places and alarm bells ringing on their potential for causing harm in sufficient doses, it might pay to make concessions where possible. Mind you, that doesn't mean you need to give up flossing. The good news, Barrow says, that our findings, she says, consumers can choose flosses that don't contain PFASs. There's no doubt we'll be hearing more on these chemicals in the future as researchers continue to investigate their biological impact and industries seek ways to limit their use and find alternatives. But for now, it's important this potentially nasty contaminant stays on our radar. This was originally published on the journal Nature, and it's on Science Alert. Now, I'll leave a link below for you for this. If you'd like to join me on my Patreon account, you will hear content not covered by mainstream media. These riveting stories will be based on my research, and I will state my opinions and give my personal insight on diverse and controversial subjects and world events not covered by mainstream media, and not supported by YouTube guidelines. So whatever I have on my Patreon, most of those will not be on my YouTube channel. Please consider becoming a member today. More of the most significant and important videos will be on my Patreon channel. Your support helps me to continue my research and keeps this YouTube channel alive. And we depend on your support, your generous charity, because we help economically challenged families here in Athens, Greece, in Kapota, and we also help the young generation with university tuition and the community around our church. Thank you.